June 28, 1914. Sarajevo, Bosnia. It was a warm Sunday morning. The streets were crowded. Flags hung from buildings, and people gathered along the roads to see one of the most powerful men in Europe. Inside an open-top automobile sat Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Beside him was his wife, Sophie. They had come to Sarajevo for an official visit. But hidden among the crowd were young men carrying something far more dangerous than flags. Weapons. They were willing to die. Their target was Franz Ferdinand, and their mission was about to change history. Several conspirators had positioned themselves along the motorcade route. Among them was a 19-year-old Bosnian Serb nationalist named Gavrilo Princip. He was waiting for one moment. Then, at approximately 10:15 in the morning, another conspirator, Nedeljko Kabranovic, stepped forward. He pulled out a bomb and threw it directly toward the Archduke's car. For a fraction of a second, it looked like history was about to end right there, but it didn't. The bomb bounced off the back of the automobile and fell beneath another vehicle. Boom! The explosion injured people nearby. But Franz Ferdinand and Sophie survived. The Archduke continued to Sarajevo City Hall. The assassination had failed. At least, that's what everyone thought. After the official reception, Franz Ferdinand made an unexpected decision. He wanted to visit the hospital and see the people wounded in the bombing. So the motorcade changed its route. And this tiny change would become one of the most consequential mistakes in modern history. The new route was not properly communicated to the driver. The automobile turned onto Franz Joseph Street. Then the driver realized something was wrong. He stopped. For a few seconds, the car barely moved. And only a few feet away stood Gavrilo Princip. The young assassin had not planned for this. He had not expected the target to appear directly in front of him. But suddenly, there he was, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Princip reached for his pistol. 2 shots. That's all it took. One bullet struck Sophie. The other struck Franz Ferdinand. The Archduke's body slumped. Sophie collapsed beside him. The crowd erupted. People rushed toward the automobile. Princip was seized almost immediately. His attempt to swallow cyanide failed. The assassin was alive. But Franz Ferdinand and Sophie were dying. Within minutes, both were dead. The assassination was finished. But the consequences had only just begun. Because Franz Ferdinand's death wasn't simply the murder of a royal. It struck at the heart of a massive European empire. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbian nationalism. Germany stood firmly behind Austria-Hungary. Russia supported Serbia. France was allied with Russia. And Britain was closely aligned with France and Russia. Europe had spent decades building armies, forming alliances, competing for power and feeding nationalist tensions. Now, one assassination had activated the entire system. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia began mobilizing to support Serbia. Germany declared war on Russia. Then Germany declared war on France. Germany invaded neutral Belgium, and Britain entered the war. Within days, a murder on a Sarajevo street had transformed into a European catastrophe. Millions would eventually be sent into battle. Millions would never return, and the world would never be the same again. But here's the terrifying part. World War I did not begin simply because Gavrilo Princip fired 2 bullets. The bullets were only the spark. For years, Europe had been filling the room with gasoline, militarism, nationalism, imperial rivalry, fear, and rigid alliances. Princip simply struck the match. And on that Sunday morning in Sarajevo, the world unknowingly stepped into the fire.